Sup? You know, living in an era where corporations have been using a very particular leftist ideology to market their products, and they're not learning their lesson when that doesn't obviously work, it's actually quite refreshing whenever you see a corporation just go back to the basics. Do what works. Appeal to your audience instead of actively fighting them, and in a lot of cases, publicly insulting them. I'm looking at you, entire gaming industry. How's BioWare doing? Not great, I assume. Yes, I am talking about Bud Light. If you need a refresher as to why people were sort of irate at Bud Light, let's revisit that clown show. And I'd know a clown show. A couple of years ago, smack bang in the middle of leftist tyranny, back when they had become so drunk on their own power, they thought they could do no wrong. They were trying to invent new, wacky, crazy things that you should now accept, and if you don't, you're a bigot. Wow, people kind of accept things now. I guess we're gonna have to come up with something that they don't. Why were they so insistent in maintaining conflict with the general populace? What was the point in this? If anything, it seems ultimately counterproductive, but I digress. Let's focus in on Dylan Mulvaney, an exercise in psychopathy. You know Bud Light. The blue can, the white letters, it's all but been adopted by Americans as a representation of their culture. Dylan Mulvaney at the time was a fledgling M to F, a trans female. Now, this person would most likely, usually, in a normal world, offer absolutely no value at all to a beer company. But there we were, smack bang in the middle of political correctness. Way back before the phrase, if you don't like it, don't buy it, was recognized as a death sentence for the corporation. To put it bluntly, the response to Dylan Mulvaney becoming the spokesperson for Bud Light did not go down well, and I can only imagine why. So let's have a quick look online and see what happened with that, shall we? Oh, thank you AI Overview for giving me a summarization of the timeline. Fantastic. In April 2023, April 1st, to be exact. So you can imagine some people were like, haha, funny joke, Bud Light. How long is this gonna last? Transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney posted a video on Instagram promoting Bud Light's March Madness contest. The post led to a boycott. Wow, that escalated quickly from some conservative commentators and celebrities. Wow, some conservative commentators and celebrities? Doesn't sound like that's that bad of a backlash. If it's just a few conservative commentators and celebrities, I can't imagine that probably did anything. If it's just conservatives. Oh, the boycott caused a 10% drop in Bud Light's US sales. That's quite significant. That sounds way more than the demographic that was just described. Almost as if no one at the party liked this decision. Bud Light's parent company put 2 executives on leave. Mulvaney said that Bud Light did not support her after the backlash. Yeah, this is a reoccurring theme that we're seeing amongst corporate leftist mouthpieces that were used by companies and marketing teams. These companies, and listen closely, don't give a shit about you. They don't care about trans people. They don't care about anyone, actually. The fact is that these corporations used the LGBT community, whereas a certain section of the LGBT community thought that they were rising to power, they were being accepted and instated as the new status quo, as the new global political regime. But that's not what happened. Is it, Unifade Walker?
Now I'm in a position where I don't think BioWare is on my side.
Some in the LGBTQ+ community criticized Bud Light for its response to the backlash. Yes, you see, they don't care. They saw the 10% drop and thought, wow, this didn't work. By appealing to a very small minority, they had alienated their entire consumer base. And at the same time, just for good measure, made the LGBT community look really, really bad. Because I don't know if you've ever watched Dylan Mulvaney. Dylan is super fucking annoying. Some conservative pundits, politicians, and celebrities spoke out about the promotion. See, now those are the ones who were brave enough to actually speak up and say anything against this ridiculous campaign. But for most people, as we have seen over the last couple of years, it is absolutely terrifying to speak up and say anything against this leftist movement. You can't. Even minor, slight honestly constructive criticism is met with insane emotional manipulation, gaslighting, harassment, bullying, and ultimately, people are pretty much done with it, as I keep saying. But you don't like Dylan Mulvaney? What are you, a transphobe? Transphobe? No, actually, I just don't think this was a good representation for the company. I also don't think this is good representation for the trans community either, since forcing this minority ideology into people's faces who, some of them don't even understand what it means, was probably not a good idea. And anyone who was likely on the fence about accepting trans people in society are now most likely gonna have a little bit of animosity towards it because they were being told to accept it. And if you don't accept it wholeheartedly, with your arms open and a big wet kiss ready for them, then you're a bigot, you're a phobe, you're an ist, and you're the enemy. People usually don't respond very well to that. So when I tell you it was more than just conservatives who had issues with Dylan Mulvaney being used, because the word is used, manipulated as a marketing tool in an attempt to try and appeal to, quote unquote, everyone. This was before, of course, they realized that doing this appeals to no one. You can believe me when I say it was not just conservative voices and politicians. It was almost everyone. Most people had seen that you could lose your job for speaking up publicly against this kind of stuff. And they do. They can find out your family, where you live, dox you, they call your employers, and they say all sorts of things to get you fired. By disagreeing, people lose their livelihoods. They can become homeless. What incentive was there for anyone to speak their mind, to give honest feedback? Well, I'll tell you what, there was a way that people figured it out. There was a way that people figured out how they can express their dismay with the decisions that a lot of these corporations were making. And that was by keeping their wallets firmly in their pockets. Because people thought, hey, if my words are enough to get me essentially rendered homeless, then I won't say anything at all. I also won't buy anything at all. And so far, we're seeing that work tremendously. It's like a silent protest, calling the bluff on all these self-righteous lefty types. If you don't like it, don't buy it. Okay, we won't. I sincerely hope that this does not make corporations fearful of ever trying to work with trans people again, because I don't think that's right either. But this insisting upon itself approach that they took with Dylan Mulvaney and that entire movement, that entire ideology, not the way to go about it. Now, I could talk about Dylan for a while. I could, but we're not gonna. In fact, we're gonna focus on exactly what Bud Light has done to completely redeem themselves. Bud Light learned a lesson and have done an entire 180 on their marketing campaign, and no one's talking about it. Which is unfair, because everybody was talking how Dylan was a terrible choice for a marketing campaign. I think people now should be talking equally about how Bud Light has learned their lesson. So let's have a quick look at their new marketing campaign, shall we? Let's see what they've been doing.
You wanna go fishing tomorrow?
I got a colonoscopy tomorrow.
Fellas, I accidentally threw a lame party.
Okay, Ted.
They're on their way.
They're here.
Ooh.
You call this a party?
Cul-de-sac party.
Launch. Launch. These beers are a
great
metaphor
song.
for an invitation.
Is that our leaf blower?
Party at the sack.
You are cordially invited to the end of the cul-de-sac.
This is incredible.
Your mower smokes meat?
Oh, a smoker cuts grass.
Hell yeah.
I spent most of my money on this.
New rig? Fully custom. How many Bud Lights can you fit in that puppy?
As many Bud Lights as it takes.
A lot of Bud Lights. This cul-de-sac's popping.
Bill, get off the boat. The HOA's already breathing down my neck.
That's a great song. I probably have to alter the audio. Watch it for yourself. It's really, really great. Bud Light learned a lesson, and instead of focusing on this, let's say, fucking weirdo, because trans or not, Dylan Mulvaney is a weirdo, especially to someone who has absolutely no idea what's been happening in California. Bud Light have instead decided to switch to two likable celebrities like Shane Gillis and Post Malone, two people who have proven to have the support of the demographic that Bud Light have been trying to hit. Bud Light have now decided to focus on the core value of its demographic, and that is a sense of community. Very rarely do people have a beer by themselves, especially a Bud Light. But what's a Bud Light good for? Sharing with the bros, going down the lake, having a couple of cold beers with boys. That's what it's about. It's about having the neighbors over for a barbecue, getting the grill going, men standing around it like this. So like, I see you got the 300 model. Yeah, I got the 400 at home. See what I mean? Understandable, recognizable, familiar themes that the American people were able to associate with. They get that. They're like, oh my god, Post Malone. Oh, Shane Gillis, the guy that tells all the funny racist jokes and stuff. We love him. Yeah. I feel like getting a Bud Light now, don't you? No, I don't. But if I was a beer drinker, I probably would, because now you feel like supporting it, don't you? There's nothing disparaging against trans people in that advert. They're not huddled around a barbecue holding Bud Lights, sizzling a trans person on the grill, laughing together as they say, what a mistake we made. Never again. No, it's focusing on the core values of its demographic, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is with these liberal ideologies is that it is all about representation and nothing else. Do you know how many video games, movies, TV shows, songs, advert campaigns, do you know how many of these things I've been represented in? Like none? But I don't care. I'm not so narcissistic and self-important to think that I need to be represented in everything in order for me to support it. Because you see, I'm able to think about people other than myself. I'm able to recognize that a product's intended audience might not be who I am, but that's fine. I don't need to have my face represented in billboards and movies and TV shows at the detriment of everybody else. Saying that though, there is a heavily tattooed musician in this Bud Light advert, but that's not gonna make me think, oh, finally, now I can get a beer. Shit! Let's have a look and see what else they got going on. See if they've done any more.
Is this it?
Hello? Come on!
Let us in.
Let us in!
We're here.
Come on! Come on! Come on!
Into the door.
Oh. Your cell phone's going nuts. Oh, they're out back.
Oh, they're out back?
Yeah, they're out back.
All right.
This whole big man on the cul-de-sac energy is a lot easier with the right beer. All right, so let's hook you up and you can BMOC your block.
Big man on the cul-de-sac. Look at that. Male representation for once. I'm kidding. I wasn't gonna be like, male representation after that whole representation's not important thing. But you can't help it. There's been a certain demographic missing from a lot of marketing campaigns.
Yo! I don't think they're home.
They said they were here. Yes. Look at this.
Let us in. Come on, we're cool. Sick ass chrysanthemums.
What?
Come on!
Are they here?
I don't know. Dude.
Hold on, do it back to back again.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to mess with us.
I wouldn't either.
It's definitely Step Brothers energy. It's kind of cringe, but it's goof. It's goofy, right? It's fun-loving, just dudes.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
See, the thing is that most people who drink beer, Bud Light, are men. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know why that became such a undeniable call to violence. Guys, there's nothing but men in here. This cannot stand. This product appeals only to men. What a blatant call to war. We must respond. Why was that? Why has almost every male space been invaded? What was this? But this invasion of everything that was considered male? What did you think was gonna happen? That's half of America. Like the Boy Scouts, for example. They saw that the Boy Scouts didn't represent everybody, and it was invaded. And now it's just the Scouts of America, I believe. How about the Girl Scouts? Is there any male representation in that yet? Oh, that's still girls only? Oh, that's fair. There was a certain type of person out there who saw a product or saw something that was appealing to men out there, and they didn't like that. They saw that as a problem. But more importantly, they saw that as them being excluded, which is not true. Yes, a product is being pushed to a specific demographic, but that doesn't mean it's only for them. It just means that that's the largest consumer base. That doesn't mean you're not allowed to buy a Bud Light. That just means This is the majority of people who buy a Bud Light, and financially speaking, it makes loads of sense for us to appeal to them. But hey, sweetie, you can get yourself a beer, a Bud Light. You and the girls can go down to, I don't know, go down to somewhere, and you can crack open a case of Bud Light. Go ahead. You're 100% allowed to do that. You don't need to be represented in something in order for it to be consumed by you. You can pretty much do anything. You can do anything you want. See, the problem is that you tried to make other people do what you want, and that's where the problem came. I can only imagine that there's probably a huge portion of the LGBT community who are slightly older, from Gen X or millennials like myself, who are probably so upset with the damage that has been caused from this new wave movement of leftist ideologies, including LGBT. It was always about just being accepted, being just part of society, but that's not what it is anymore. It's an insistence that it be the majority representation for everything. It has to be represented in everything. It has to be the core belief of everything. And in doing so, has alienated everybody, and anyone who was on the fence or unsure or had only just begun to accept the LGBTQ plus movements are now most likely resentful of it because of its insistence. Now, of course, that's my opinion on this whole Bud Light thing, right? It's like, great, they've gone back to their primary consumer base. Fantastic. But what do the people think of this? What do the general consumer base themselves think about this new campaign? Well, let's have a look, shall we? Revival of a brand. Good to see the crazy out the door. Great ad. It's like they're trying to make up ground for something. Still not drinking that shit. Well, and that's okay. Bud Light's trying to buy their way out of supporting cultural destruction of our nation. Look, they were simply doing what they thought was going to get the widest consumer base possible by trying to appeal to everyone. Like I said, these corporations used LGBT to push, to try and make money. This was never about actually having any virtue. This was simply just trying to make as much money as possible. It didn't work. Hence why Dylan's been replaced. Interesting they're not pushing LGBTQ anymore. I'm enjoying watching Bud recover from that marketing slip. Kudos for some good commercials. Finally, a real beer commercial, not that shit from before. I might start drinking Bud Light again now. Awesome commercial. I thought Bud Light was cancelled. Funniest Bud Light commercial yet. You and Shane are two of the funniest to exist. No thanks. Haven't forgotten your bullshit. We've moved on. Still not buying or drinking that squall piss, but I do enjoy some good entertainment, so keep them coming. Love Post, not Bud Light. I'll never go back. Y'all went woke and turned your back on those who supported you. Could have stood strong, but took a knee. Never gonna let that one go. So these guys used to be women? Not trying to offend Bud Light, just confused. Guess men pretending to be women didn't sell beer. Jesus. This feels like when your friend breaks up with the weird girl and you get your best friend back. We are so back, baby. Ever longer does the pendulum swing. Everybody gets their day in the sun, and there is gonna be an overcorrection on the horizon. I guarantee it. But while we're slowly swinging back into the center, let's just allow people to enjoy the things that they enjoy without shaming them for it. Anyway, guys, my name's Jake Monroe. I had a great day today because I made it a great day, and I'll catch you all next time. Later!